So the questions are these. How can we really activate the best of the private sector to meet the challenges of the real world? Is there a way to accelerate my career that doesn't involve boring online or classroom courses? And can I really impact people in the developing world with the skills that I have? Can I finally feel proud of what I know? Those are the questions, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Philippa White, and this is Thai Unearthed. Keep listening, and you can follow us on our journey as we show you how we're connecting the private sector with the social sector to make change. Hello everyone, Philippa White here, and welcome to episode 11 of Thai's podcast. Today I'm speaking with Grace Banda, CEO of Barefeet Theatre. It's great to have you here with us today, Grace.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
So I'd love to tell our listeners a little bit more about you. Now, Grace was born in Lusaka, Zambia. She was the fifth child of 7 and was raised by a strong single mother after her father died in a road accident when she was only 5. Her father had 2 wives at the time of his death, which was very common in her culture. And her stepmother with her 4 children, and Grace's mother and Grace's brother and sisters all lived together in the same house. Growing up in a family was not easy. And even though her mother was not educated herself, she encouraged a culture of reading and dreaming. This was not the norm, as girls were not encouraged to read. Grace worked in a supermarket straight out of high school to make money, and that money went to help sponsor her brother to go to university. The thinking was that if he was educated, he was going to be their savior. After 4 years of working 6 days a week for 12 hours a day, a well-wisher offered to sponsor Grace's college tuition, where she then went off to study chartered accountancy. While studying, she volunteered with a girls' orphanage, and it was there that she met Adam McEwen, who is the co-founder and was at the time the artistic director of Barefeet Theatre. The moment she got to know Barefeet, she immediately fell in love. She started as a volunteer accountant and did that for 5 years. She then ran the performance company, which generating wing of the organization. And finally, at the end of 2017, Grace was appointed as the new executive director for the organization. Now, Barefeet has grown organically. It was founded by former street children and an Irishman, who's Adam, and they pride themselves on giving hope and a chance to the most vulnerable in their society. The majority of their facilitators, performers, and management have come through their projects, and they rely on support from volunteers from all walks of life to help them achieve their goals. Now, we have worked with Barefeet 4 times, I think, since 2013. And the last project was actually just before COVID hit with Alice Walker from BBH. So, Grace, I wonder if you can tell our listeners just about you and the work that you do and the story of how and why the organization was set up.
All right. Thank you so much, Philippa. So Barefeet was started by chance. I would like to start by that. So it was Adam McGuigan, who's the Irish guy, one of the founders. He was traveling through Africa doing his one-man show when he was actually mugged in Zimbabwe, and the nearest Irish embassy was in Zambia. So when he came to Zambia to get his papers sorted, because everything had been stolen from him, when he came to Zambia to get his papers sorted, he decided to spend some of his time while he was waiting for his papers, decided to spend some of his time in one of what we call a drop-in center. So a drop-in center is a place where some of the street kids, would go to have a bath, to have a meal, but still go back to the center. So these are like shelters where they just offer meals and just a shower to any of the kids that are living on the street. So Adam went there sometimes to just pass his time, work with some of the kids that were there. At the time, some of the guys that are also founders of Barefeet were doing some workshops as well, because they grew up at the center and they had just finished their grade 12 or their high school through sponsorship from the center. So Adam and these guys decided to do something with these kids. And at the time, it was an election year. So the focus was a lot of focus from politicians was from kids on the street, the time bomb. There was a lot of theft, and there was a lot of mugging as well from the kids from the street, because there was a lot of kids. And at the time, that was in 2006. The HIV pandemic also was at its peak, and a lot of parents had died, especially in Zambia. A lot of parents had died leaving their young children because there was not so much education, sensitization around HIV and AIDS. So there was a lot of young people on the street, and politicians used that as an excuse just to talk about that, try to get themselves elected. So they decided to do a festival for that year. They decided to get all the kids that were on the streets, bring them to Fountain of Hope, which is the center that they used to go to. They bring them to Fountain of Hope and just started doing creative activities with them, creative workshops, dance workshops, and different other things. And the kids were so excited. And these guys, Adam and the other guys, decided, why don't we, have like a big grand finale where we could, these young people can perform. And because it was an election year, every politician wanted to be seen on TV, and there was always cameras following them. So the guys decided to approach one of the politicians, to ask them if the young people could perform for them. So that's kind of how Barefeet started. So they got a lot of attention. There was a lot of media around it, and there was also, something good came out of it, because these young people actually were really interested in, what they had experienced. For, they just suddenly, all the attention was on them. So people were giving them attention. People were willing to listen to what they were saying just because they were on stage. Usually on the street, people don't pay so much attention to them. They're always ignored. So this was also a really life-changing moment for these young people, and they decided this is the time that they wanted to do more. But that was not the plan for these guys at the time, because they thought it was just going to be a one-time thing. An organization called Project Concern International also noticed, because they were also working with street kids at the time. So they decided to give them an opportunity, to fund them, to see how many more other young people they can work with. There was a lot of centers at the time. There were a lot of orphanages as well in Lusaka, especially dealing with young people from the street or vulnerable kids from the society that had been orphaned. So they decided to fund them to, do workshops, creative workshops with these young people in the different communities. So that's kind of how Barefeet started. And at the moment now we grew up too quickly, I think. I think a lot of people were so passionate. They were so excited about what Barefeet was doing. And also, I think the fact that a lot of people in Barefeet grew up on the street themselves, they really understand, and they're also very passionate about, working with these young people on the street. And that's why it's not so much about work. It's also about trying to change lives. How can we touch these young people's lives? How can we give them the same opportunity that we had? How can we make sure they also get a voice? How can we make sure we give them a voice, a platform, so that they can speak? Because on the street, these young people do not have a voice. Only, when we give them a platform to speak is when, people can actually listen to them. At the moment, we work in 5 main areas. We call them the 5 toes. The first one is the outreach. So we go into the street, we go into the communities where we outreach to these young people and invite them to the different workshops that we conduct, the creative workshops, or sometimes we call them the intervention workshops. So that is the outreach. We make sure, we also earn their trust on the street. We make sure that, we learn their story, where they come from, and also just, be there for them and just be a friend. The second tour is called the workshops. So this is where we talk about different issues in the workshops, including psychosocial counseling, as well as drug abuse, how to take care of their bodies. These young people also experience a lot of abuse on the street. And we make sure they also learn, where do you go when you have been abused? Where do you go when your friend has been abused? Who can you trust? Having a trusted adult and things like that. So that's a little bit about Barefeet.
Amazing. So we've worked together a few times over the years. Is there, from your experience to date with Ty, is there a story that stands out with regards to the impact of working with us?
So I think there's a lot of amazing stories. For me, I think the one thing that really comes to mind is when Cheryl, who was here in 2018. For me, that was around the time that there was a transition in Barefeet from the previous CEO to when the board was deciding who was going to take over the management. At the time, I didn't even really think I stood a chance, or I didn't even think that this was for me. So working with Cheryl, she not only helped build or help us with the strategy of the performance company, she did not only help us build the organization as a whole and looking at the organization in a different way, but she also helped me as well in so many different ways, including, she believed so much in me that I didn't even see it myself. I didn't realize I had it, but she believed so much in me, and she just spoke about how she thought I had the potential and how she thought I was a really good leader. And at the time, I didn't really see it. I'm very passionate about my work. I'm very passionate about Barefeet. But at the time, I didn't even think that I had the capability of leading an organization. So for me, that was a life-changing moment. Yes, it was personally towards me, but I think that was one of the times I realized, wait, what? I can, right? And also, she just, helped me plan. It helped me think things through, how I can think things through, how I can plan, how I can, prepare strategies and things like that. So she really brought that out in me. The other volunteers just added onto it, but I think it started when Cheryl came, because she was the first that I worked personally with.
That's fantastic.
She did amazing work. All of them did amazing work for the organization, and we have grown so much since then. But for me, that really stands out. Not to mention the lasting friendships that we create with these the volunteers that come here. It doesn't end after the placement ends. It continues. We talk, and because we also like to believe that we also touch their lives in one way or the other. So we always keep in touch, and now we have friends all over the world. So that's amazing. So
well, it's definitely reciprocated. So yes, you definitely do touch many of the people's lives, well, everyone's lives who get involved, and likewise ours. So absolutely.
I'm glad.
For sure. Now, I wonder if you can tell us about challenges that you're facing in your part of the world that perhaps we may not know.
So I'll start with maybe Zambia as a whole. At the moment, I think, I don't know how much you've heard, but Zambia at the moment is the topic, especially in a lot of European countries, about the debt that we have. So at the moment, that's one of the challenges. Our economy has really gone bad. A lot of things, especially basic needs, have become so expensive that it's really hard for a Zambian to afford to live, to eat every day. So there's a lot of poverty at the moment as a nation. There's a lot of mismanagement of funds by our politicians at the moment. So it has been a really tough year. Forget COVID, but just this year, the way our economy and how the kwacha is faring compared to the dollar is really bad at the moment. So everything has been hiked to more than 100%, and it has just become very difficult for especially local Zambians to do business, because it's some of the goods and services have to be sourced from outside, and it's very expensive for Zambians at the moment. So the country is owing a lot of money, which is not good. But also a lot of people lost their jobs, especially with the COVID-19, with the coming in of the COVID-19. One, there's a lot of South African businesses in Zambia for some reason, a lot of shopping malls that are owned by South Africans, a lot of companies, especially that are owned by South Africans. So after the COVID hit, even the South Africans themselves that own businesses here, closed down. So a lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of even house keepers that are working in different people's houses have lost jobs. So it has been a very, very difficult year all around at the moment, I think, in Zambia, because the levels of poverty are really bad. We didn't experience the COVID-19 as much as I think other countries have. I think we have had 14,000 cases so far, and only about 114 dead. So I would like to say we are lucky in that area, because if I can only imagine how bad it would have been if the disease affected us that much, because people at the moment, a lot of people at the moment can't even afford to buy a mask. A lot of people can't even afford to stay in the house, and just quarantine, or just you stay in the house, isolate, because they rely on every day going out and looking for food and bringing the food to their families to eat. So at the moment, I'd say those are the biggest challenges that we're experiencing in Zambia. COVID-19.
And actually, from the point of view of COVID, because you've sort of brought that up, and I'm quite keen to understand specifically Barefeet. How were you guys impacted by COVID?
Well, it was very sad situation. First of all, with the kids that we work with a lot of vulnerable young people in the community, a lot of vulnerable young people on the street, and all of these kids, there was a lot of politicizing as well around that, because some politicians would announce on TV that X number of kids have been removed from the street, have been taken to a center or where they can be safe. But usually those were things that they would say and bring cameras, and as soon as the cameras left, the kids were taken back to the street. So as Barefeet, because those are the young people that we work with, that was a very challenging time for us. We did not have funding at the time to make sure that we could take the kids out of the street. So what we did as Barefeet was also to come up with a donation page where we could raise some income to take some of these kids out of the street. So we did what we called an emergency camp. People came through for us. A lot of people donated whatever they could. And it was very overwhelming and encouraging for us and inspiring for us, because a lot of people around the world were going through so many difficult times, but a lot of people also with the little that they had donated, and we had what we called an emergency camp, where we took all the kids from the street. And mind you, Philippa, these young people are also, on drugs. Most of them, have become addicts. And also it was very difficult time for us, even just having them to stay in that center, because some of them would run away. We were putting our facilitators at risk. We were putting the kids at risk. So it was a really tough time, but it was something that we really needed to do. We really needed to take the kids out of the street. Also on the street as well, because a lot of companies had closed at the time. It was also because they rely on begging on the streets to get food. So there was really not so much for them, not a lot of people to give. And another initiative that we had is a feeding program. So with the coming in of COVID-19, a lot of the centers that we work with, some of them orphanages, community schools, we work with community churches. So these are the organizations and the institutions that are already in the community. We rely so much on partnering with organizations that are already in those different communities that we work with, so that the children are can easily access the premises. So a lot of these organizations, especially the orphanages that rely on donations as well, could not afford to provide food, could not afford to provide anything for these young people, and they were actually releasing them to go back to the street, or to go back to their parents. Some of them who are, especially for community schools, when they closed, the kids were going back home and staying home. And most of these kids rely on food at school because some of these community schools provide meals at school. So it was very hard as well. So we had to also see what we could do in that situation. I mean, the ideal situation was, supporting all of them, but we could not even pay our own salaries at the time. So we decided also, to through the same donation link, we also started supporting one of the, most vulnerable centers, because that one, a lot of the kids would stay, and they had the youngest kids, the kids would stay from morning, for days without having meals, because there was really nothing that they could be given. Yeah. There was really nothing they could eat. So we also started, asking people if they could contribute, even actual food. We didn't even, it didn't have to be money. It didn't have to be, anything fancy. We just wanted people to contribute whatever it is that they could contribute. Sometimes we would, drive to a shopping mall, or, and advertise on our page and ask people to drive through, especially, and people gave. Sometimes when they're going into the shopping mall or into the supermarket, they'll come back with a bag of mealie meal, to donate. So people came through as well, and some people were giving money. And so we have been supporting this center. It's called the Seko Children's Village, where we have been supporting as well with at least 2 meals per day. And this campaign also went really well, because we had one of the international schools in Lusaka. It's called the International School of Lusaka. They were supposed to have a reunion, a 20-year reunion this year, and they couldn't because of the Covid-19. So they decided instead to donate towards that cause.
Wow.
So at the moment, we're really happy to say that we are going to be sponsoring this center until December at least. So a lot of people came through for us.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So like I said, it would have been great if we could support everyone. But at least we decided to go with the ones that were really, hit the most, who had challenges, especially with eating. And lastly, another initiative we did was to, just help masks. So after a few months of being in lockdown, so they decided to open up the schools to some of the examination classes. But the challenge was every child had to go to school with a mask. But a lot of the community schools that we work with could not even afford a mask. So they ended up, staying home and not going to school, because every time you go to school without a mask, they were asked to go back. So what we did was also collaborate with an organization in Malawi that were making masks, and they gave us 60,000 masks. And we have been distributing masks as well to the most vulnerable in the community, to the community schools, just to also give them, make sure that they can also go back to school and continue their education. Right now, everything has been opened up. All the schools, all the classes have been opened up. So that's another thing. So the 60,000 masks also, we've just been trying to make sure that the most vulnerable also can get a mask.
Yes. Yeah. Wow, gosh, you guys have been busy. And I mean, when I think back to when we finished the project with Alice, and obviously this was just before COVID, and you had closed your the business with there was a few shopping centers that were wanting to contract you guys to perform, which was obviously a way for Barefeet to be able to generate income, of course, and to be able to showcase your work, which is a big part of what you do. And that's obviously what also helps you be able to pay for everything else that you do and pay for people's salaries and to support your important work. And of course, when COVID hit, shopping centers were no longer open, and that money, it sounds like it's coming, but it obviously everything got put on hold, which of course impacted you guys in a pretty big way. Just to just would love you to talk a little bit about, we're about to launch, as you know, the Thai Accelerator program with Barefeet. We're working at the moment with another organization, but I'm super excited to be supporting your work. And I just wanted to know, what do you hope to get out of this Thai Accelerator experience? How do you hope that we can help in the context of everything that we've been talking about?
Yeah, that was it was like a blow to us actually when COVID started. Like you mentioned, we had a lot of things lined up and we're really excited to be, working in those areas. And I think it was going to be a good year, but a lot of things just, shut down without any notice. We're really excited for the Thai Accelerator because, as you know, Philippa, as well, I think also in other parts of the world, we have to adapt to a new normal of working. The way we're used to working, the way we are used to interacting with the audiences, the way we are used to going into the communities has to change. We have to think about the safety of the people. We have to think, how can we now communicate with our audiences without having to put them at risk or put ourselves at risk. So we are really excited to see how we could use the different platforms, to reach out to our audiences. We're hoping that we can get support in, how is it that other people are managing to reach out to audiences without actually being there. Of course, for us, it can't be, totally reliant on these other platforms. We also have to be there. We've figured the part out of how we can work with the different communities without actually putting them at risk, but we also want to be able to reach out to the different audiences. One of our dreams is to make sure that we are, self-reliant. We are, we don't rely so much on donations. We don't rely so much on grants, and we just, to be able to be sustainable and also just continue doing our work without having to worry where the income is coming from. So that's another way that we were hoping that the Thai Accelerator can help with, how we can strategize and how we can come up with new strategies, develop new business plan for long-term growth and sustainability for the organization, analyze the cost effectiveness of the performance company and things like that.
Yeah. Good. Well, I look forward to it. We're pulling the team together, and we're going to be kicking it off in February. So 2021, we're going to be working together again, which I'm really looking forward to. Yeah, me too. Now, listen, just to wrap things up, because we're getting to the end of the podcast, but I just wanted to, as we finish, is there anything that you would like to tell our listeners that I didn't ask you as we finish this?
Well, I guess we are always looking for new friends of Barefeet, new followers. So we have been working on different programs at the moment. So as much as the COVID, disrupted everything, we also quickly thought of other ways that we can get in touch with our audiences as well as the children. So at the moment, maybe I can just talk about what are some of the projects that we're working on. So we just launched what we call the International Day of No Shoes. It's a campaign just us talking about the work that we do, the children that we have been working with. And we also premiered a play that we did a while back, and I think it's a lovely play, and people can look it up on our Barefeet YouTube channel. It's called Miss Mathematics. We have also been working on a disability inclusion project because a lot of young people, when you come to Zambia, you won't see a lot of people with disabilities. That is not to say they're not there, but they're hidden, and there's a lot of taboo around that. So we've also been working to include the young people with disabilities because we also feel like they fall under the bracket of vulnerable young people. So we have also been working on disability projects. And also, we're going to be launching, our online donations so that, if people can check out our website. And those are some of the things.
Great. Well, what I'll do is in the bio of our podcast, I'll include some of those links that you've mentioned so that people can click on them and understand more about your really important work and support it if they can. So, Grace, listen, thank you. It is always such a pleasure to connect with you. I'm really looking forward to working with you yet again in February. And just all the best to all of you. And please stay safe. And we'll speak soon.
Thank you so much. And also just wanted to say thank you for what Thai has been doing for us. You're great. You're amazing. We are really looking forward to next year as well. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Take care, Grace. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey everyone, this is Philippa again. So this is your chance to get involved with TIE. We have 3 absolutely amazing virtual opportunities available, all rooted in connecting the private sector with the social sector to make change. TIE has never been more necessary than right now. So if you're looking for life-changing leadership development opportunities for your employees and you want your company to impact the world, we've got you covered. If you're looking to step out of your comfort zone and use your skills to make a difference and keen to meet other like-minded professionals with similar values, then our TIE Accelerator program is for you. There are so many options, so I urge you to get in touch. Go to theinternationalexchange.co.uk for more information or just shoot us an email. Better companies, better leaders, better world.